Petritis. It's like hepatitis with a P. It's fine. I mean, hey, no one gets it right. And I mean, I think maybe 5-10% of people actually get it correctly.
I get NEPA all the time, so I guess I understand.
It's fine. It works out.
So I was thinking back before we started this. I think I've known you since you were in high school.
Probably. Because when you sent me the actual form to kind of like do the onboarding for this, which I was super excited about, which by the way, thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, man.
Because I've been looking forward to this for the past week. I don't listen to many like non-business podcasts. I think there's like one other one that's like two people bickering about food debates all the time. Highly recommend. It's called A Hot Dog is a Sandwich. Definitely check that out. But either way, I've been going and like doing my daily walks to Sips and Ish for the past week or so. Big fan. It's awesome. I like the format.
Appreciate it.
The original question, yes. How did we go and meet? Yeah, I honestly, I was like thinking back to it. And like, you definitely knew me back in the days when I was under the name Roller God. And I'm like, ooh, that's a cringy moment in my life.
Hey man, we've all been there. So I kind of want to just going back into the background of that. On the onboarding form, you said that we met at Mobile Beat when I was with Nightlife Media Labs and DJ Core, aka Jeff Musilar.
No, it was a DJ Expo, not Mobile Beat.
DJ Expo. Okay. So in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because at Atlantic City that year, when was that? Was that 2014, 2015?
2014, yeah. I want to say that.
Yeah. Because I was doing sales for Blizzard Lighting at the time.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, man.
That was a fun time in my life, trying to go and do the show circuit with Blizzard Lighting. Love those guys. Hilarious people to travel with, by the way.
They're all great. Mark and who was the kid that was with him too?
There was no other kid at Blizzard, but I was hanging out a lot with Adam Parrott and Scotty Nye.
Okay.
Because they're from the Pennsylvania area. Well, Adam Parrott's Massachusetts. Scotty Nye's from Philly. Both really cool people. Like at my age, when we were starting back in those years, there was a lot of us young kids who we had a chip on our shoulder and we had to prove ourselves, and we stuck together through and through, which was kind of awesome.
Yeah. And so we're going to get into all about what you're doing now and how you're evolving and how you've evolved. But I do want to kind of talk to about Mike Petritis, the DJ, aka DJ Roller God, which I forgot all about that. And we've all had embarrassing DJ names. My first.
I prefer to forget about that through extra bourbon.
By the way, so this is our first ever USPS fucked up podcast. This is the first time that they failed me. And again, we're only 7 or 8 deep into these things, but I overnight the cocktails to our guests and they get a nice care package, which Mike would know all about if USPS didn't F it up.
I'll get it tomorrow.
Yeah. So Mike's going to have a nice nightcap with Amanda, hopefully on Friday. It is a double, but sure. It's just a 4-ounce pour. So 2 4-ounce pours there, but I made you a Boulevardier. I don't know if you ever had one of those. Ooh.
It's been a while.
Okay.
Which actually, when we get more into drinks later, I want to talk to you about. There was an experience I had back in Chicago at the Milk Room. So I might have had it there, but I can't remember.
Okay.
It was a good time.
Yeah, the Milk Room is a Death and Company, I believe, or
you do know about them? Yeah, they're awesome.
Petrosky, yeah.
They're from Chicago, something Land Sea Air. Like there's like this sub brand thing that they got going on where there's like all these super high end craft cocktail experiences that they've catered throughout the city of Chicago.
Okay, and they're published authors too, from my memory, and that is actually where I believe the Paper Plane cocktail was developed for.
Ooh, well now I feel like an asshole for not ordering one.
No, man, it's all good, It's cool. So right now you've been out of the DJ game for what, 3 or 4 years now?
So I started DJing in 2008, and then I never officially said, okay, here's my hard date. I'm done DJing, but I have not done a gig since 2016, 2017.
Oh, wow. So close to 5 years.
Yeah. I started really early. I started in 8th grade. It was a fun time. And then just it kind of grew and grew and grew. And then I transferred into marketing. But however you want to unpack that, let's dive into it.
Yeah. Then I do want to get into that. I kind of want to tell people about like my experience with you too, because it's been a very, very positive one. And you've got I don't know how many consultants / marketers can say this, but it's got to be a damn near 95% like approval rating. Like you can toot your own horn. But I actually haven't heard anybody that has worked with you been like, yo, fuck that guy.
Well, there was definitely a situation with one particular person in the DJ space. I don't think I should name who, but he went and well, that's a story for off camera.
Oh man, teasing us here. But I can relate. So you knew me when I worked with Jeff, and we had a company called Nightlife Media Labs.
Oh shit, that's what I should. I was like, what should I wear tonight? Should I go polo or? You had the dopest T-shirts at the show. Everyone's like just black with white text DJ Crew T-shirts, and you had Trainwreck Free.
Yep.
I still have that shirt. I still wear that shirt. It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, we had Trainwreck Free, and I think Paris Hilton's favorite DJ.
Yeah, and then you had the cardboard cutout of Paris Hilton in your booth.
That was our booth, yeah. And so Jeff is a perfectionist, and our booth did not go according to plan. It wasn't a disaster, but the backdrop we had wasn't exactly right, and Jeff was so pissed off. I remember that. But it did go over well. We had a photo opportunity. We had a photographer with us, and Jeff and I are both pretty savvy marketers. But where I was going with this was selling to DJs sucks. I hated it. It bittered me. It made me want to quit the industry. How do you do it, man?
So I kind of have to tell a little bit of my background and how I got into selling to DJs in the first place. Obviously, like I said, I started DJing straight out of 8th grade. Like I was really inspired to become one, which ironically was because I took a trip. I was one of the super awkward kids who went like in your like tween years, you went to Disney with your family and you were like hardcore into it. Cause I was born and raised a Disney slut. My mom brought me there like every year between ages 3 and I think like 8, and spoiled me rotten there. And so I was super awkward and I went to a private school. So imagine this kid who's in like Aeropostale, like oversized collared shirts with jeans and not a social bone in his body. And in 2008 specifically, my mom decided to go and do New Year's at Disney, which is super underrated. If you're not familiar, Disney World in Florida, they do insane New Year's Eve parties, specifically in Epcot, because what Epcot does is that every single country around the World Showcase has their own individual New Year's Eve party, and every country does a different genre of music.
Okay.
So you can go for like Italy for trance music. You can go to China for like open format DJs. You can go to the American Pavilion for like kind of like a pop punk situation. It's really, really dope. And I spent a ton of my time in the trance pavilion in Italy. And like this whole idea of watching a DJ control the crowd with nothing but just playing music behind the decks was mind blowing to me. And so as soon as I got home from that moment, I started raising money and I wanted to go and get DJ equipment. I wanted to learn the craft. And my first setup was a Gemstown CDM 150 CD player. It's absolute garbage, but it got me into it. And so as I kind of progressed in my career, obviously then I got like Technique 1200s, Rain 62 mixer. I went through the whole Serato thing and all that. And when I was DJing, I was using DJing as a way to pay my way through college.
Nice.
I'm not the braggart type of guy. I'm not the show offy guy. I don't post on social media that much anymore. But from 8th grade through college, my parents gave me $0 and 0 cents. I'm not saying that I had a poor upbringing. I'm not saying that my parents hated me. It's just, I never wanted them to pay me for anything. I paid for my own car, clothes, dates, food, everything. And so DJing facilitated that. And so when I went to college, I originally went to Columbia College Chicago for an audio arts and acoustics program, but it was a Bachelor of Science. And as soon as they told me I had to learn trigonometry, I was like, nope, fuck that, I'm out. So I ditched the audio arts and acoustics degree. I mean, I still to this day, I know some basic sound theory and how to mic a drum set and stuff like that. But I took a intro to marketing course my second year, fell in love with it, and just started excelling. I became the teacher's pet. I will fully admit it. Ellen Shapiro was my professor, and she works for a major firm that she's the account manager for the city of Chicago, where she does all the marketing and all the contracts for the Bank of America marathon for the city of Chicago. And so basically she noticed that I was putting in the work and stuff. And so she brought a lot of different opportunities my way. And so I learned a lot very quickly. And what was interesting is obviously going through a marketing program as I'm also trying to run my own business, which no one else in my grade ever even considered doing it, is that I'm trying to go and apply these marketing principles to my DJ business. And so that's when I went and I rebranded into Frequency DJs. I did a whole brand new logo. I got apparel done. I redid the website. The website still wasn't really that great compared to what I do now, but I put my all into my company, and it showed, because then we started booking so many more things. And we were one of the few people who went all in. Instead of trying to go high-end weddings, we went high-end Sweet 16s, and we went high-end school dances and stuff like that. And it kind of scaled from there. And then other DJs being DJs, they were wondering what I was doing, how I was doing it, why I was doing it. And then just slowly people started like messaging me on Facebook or calling me or texting me and saying like, hey, can you help me with this? Hey, can you do this for me? And I was like, yeah, sure at first. But then as it grew and grew and grew, by the time that it was my final year in college, and I said, you know what? I had this offer in front of me to go work at Leo Burnett, which, if you're not familiar, Leo Burnett is one of the largest marketing firms in the world, and their clients are Coca-Cola and McDonald's. And so I was basically going to be thrown on one of those two accounts and basically told, go sell more fries, go sell more Coke. And I says, no, I don't want to do that. My parents are all entrepreneurs. I've got my way this far as a DJ. I want to go and do my own marketing company. So I started Elix Marketing, and basically I kind of use DJs as my stepping stone to get into the marketing world. And the beautiful thing about DJs, and I think DJs don't even recognize this, is that you're very well networked people. You know so many different people, whether it's managers of a venue or florists, caterers who obviously also do restaurants, photographers, videographers. You have probably the best jumping off point for networking with other people and getting into other places, and no one ever realizes it. And that's how I expanded my company. I mean, that's the whole reason why Elix blew up so quickly in the way it did. And I could not be any more grateful. I wouldn't change anything I did in the past.
No, absolutely not, man. That's your story, and Elix is great. I kind of want to tell the story about how I came to you as, I guess, a client, because I am, and I sing your praises and I refer you. Before I do that, I'm going to take another sip. I haven't even asked you what you're drinking right now.
So as many people are aware, Texas, I live in Austin, Texas, by the way. Mm-hmm. We had a really, really bad freeze. And so fortunately, my neighborhood, the rumor goes that our power grid for my neighborhood specifically is shared with a local ER and the fire department. So we never got our power shut off, because by law, you can't cut power to those two places. So we never lost power, but we did lose water for 4 days, which sucked. It was terrible. But we got really, really lucky. We didn't lose power. And so there's a bunch of other people, like literally a 5-10 minute walk down the street, and everyone had nothing. But through that period, life was hard. So I went through all my good bourbon. So now I'm just on Buffalo Trace. But I don't have that much left. So depending on how long this goes, I might break out the Tesla tequila after this.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm definitely jealous. I hear very good things in that bottle, man. I don't know. I just wouldn't open that. That's just... I got two of them. I got one that's sealed with your name on it in case you want it.
How
much?
It's going for a lot right now. We'll talk.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you how I came to you, like in terms of, like, I knew you were a consultant. This is 2 years ago now, right? A year and a half ago, 2 years, right before kind of the pandemic. But I came to you. I'm a multi-op DJ, which means I had about 17 employees at the time. But I was doing a lot myself. I was doing a lot of the office admin work. I was doing events. It's easily an 80 to 90 hour a week job, and I never complain about that. I love it. But I've got a daughter. I've got a girlfriend. I've got a lot going on. So I came to Mike at first, and I said, "Hey, Mike, I need some help with my Instagram and Facebook ads." Mike was like, "Glad to help you. Let me take a look." I gave him access to my accounts. He looked at the stuff. And he started asking questions about my business that weren't necessarily related to my advertising, because sales were pretty good for me. But he started kind of dialing down about like the troubles that I had, and this was like, I'm like, okay, this guy's pretty cool. I've known Mike, I know he was cool, but he's validating and verifying that. And Mike kind of drilled down my process, and my problem was, I was fast to reply to initial inquiries, pardon me, but I was not so great at the follow-up. And I knew that, and Mike helped me in that direction, helped me automate a lot of my business. And if you don't automate your business without taking away the human side of it, you're missing out. Mike, can you talk to me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so obviously when I went all into marketing and I transitioned from primarily serving DJs to really everyone, kind of in the beginning of quarantine, my firm specifically would go and do 60 to 70% of our business was in the wedding industry up until February of 2020. And as that as COVID happened, we quickly realized that we didn't diversify enough. There's a lesson from Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, and he says that he was on a video with one random YouTuber. I think his name was Graham. And in this interview, Mr. Wonderful was looking at his investment portfolio, and he says, "Listen, you should never go and have more than 30% of your income come from one vertical. Mm-hmm. So you need to diversify." And so it was COVID that helped us go and realize that, okay, now's the time. Let's go and diversify. And fortunately, we're very blessed that, I've been very open. I'm open for whoever wants to talk to me. I'm here for you. And so because of that, literally, we went from having $40,000 in recurring revenue lined up because we were about to launch this brand, 10X Weddings. And as COVID happened, all that business went out the door. They're like, "Nope, see ya, can't do it." And then a week to 2 weeks after that happened, then my phone would not stop ringing because we had people who were contacting us. And as this is going, I've already been using this particular software that you're now using. Yep. To go and learn ways to automate business, because it was during this kind of phase that we originally went from this model where as a company you would go and pay us a management fee and ad spend. We run ads for you, we get you leads, and then you take the leads and run with them. And the problem with that is that a lot of people would have the leads come in, but they would not get back to them. They would not follow up with them. Mm-hmm. Their follow-up was garbage. And I hate to say it, but most business owners, you're really, really great. Like in the DJ sense, you're really, really great as a DJ, but you suck as a salesperson. Yes. You're garbage because you simply don't have enough time to dedicate to your leads and to dedicate to your clients. And so we started using automation software that allows us to go and automate all text messages, emails, phone calls, voicemail messages, Facebook messages, Google My Business messages, all the full 9 yards. And then we quickly realized, okay, so instead of selling our clients leads, we're going to sell them solutions in terms of getting their time back. And that's why you and I started talking more and more, is because automation doesn't have to be inhumane. Automation doesn't have to sound like a robot. It can sound very, very human. And if you still want to be involved in a certain aspect of your business, go for it. I'll show you why you shouldn't, but either way, go for it. But at least try to go and automate as much as you humanly can, because you as a business owner, you are best fit in wherever you make the most money. If you're a stone cold closer, then let's automate everyone up into the point of a meeting. If you just want a DJ, then let's try to automate the entire sales process as much as you can. If you are simply a great administrator, you don't necessarily want to be behind the decks every weekend and lifting speakers, then go and do that. Whatever you specialize in, go all in on that, because that's how you're going to scale your business and delegate to everything else.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was able to do more of what I loved, focus my time on where I was good, and the automation kind of picked up from there. And I'm just going to say, like, straight up, like, to anybody listening, if you own a business, if you're an entrepreneur, automate every single thing you can that won't take away from the customer experience or the client experience. For me, even automation, if you're kind of against it and you're a little forgetful, if you're a Google Calendar type person, like that automation, not only does it help the clients or prospective clients, but it also triggers you and gives you pings to kind of check in and follow up as well. So, I mean, it's a win-win.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I've seen, so we were working with this glass company out of Phoenix, Arizona, and they primarily specialize in glass shower doors. And so they came to us with about a 25% or so closing rate. and we're saying, okay, well, that's a little under normal. Let's see what we can do with it. And so we started automating once someone comes in, because we also manage their Google ads, and they're spending $4,000 on Google ads every single month. And we go and have every single lead that comes in, they're automatically followed up with. And then as soon as we get an answer from them, we get a photo of their shower, we get the sizing of the shower, and like their personal identifying information. We then go and automate the follow-up sequence, because there's about 12 different layouts of shower that are pretty standardized. And then once we figure out what that layout is, we drop them into a follow-up sequence when we actually spit up a quote. And then the follow-up sequence uses photos of that exact shower layout so they can envision what it's going to look like. And so we have that all automated. And then we have a complete automation sequence where if they actually accept the proposal, they sign with their finger on a special form. And then that automatically goes and moves it to the next column in their pipeline. Then we go and automatically order the glass. We actually tell the internal staff to go and order the glass with all the specifications. Then once the glass is ordered, we update the client saying your glass has been ordered. Once it comes back in, the client gets a message that the glass is going through a quality check. I mean, this entire process, this entire journey of ordering a shower door is automated to the point where now they are closing, I think it's 54 to 60% of every cold lead that comes in their business.
That is
insane. Doubled their income. And they've now done over 12 months, I think it's close to $2 million in sales.
So
just
sales
completely automatic.
Let me just
completely automated.
Sales are great. Like you doubling their sales, it's amazing. But think about the time savings and the customer touch point. Like from like the process that they can order the glass, that it's delivered, to the client being able to see their particular shower. It's nuts, man.
Well, not only that, but what's interesting is that, of course, I mean, we're getting their time back, but this is all happening to a company that has literally, I think, 2 office staff and I think 4 actual glaziers and 2 different trucks.
Okay.
Like it's a tiny, tiny office, but they're doing insane sales because they're able to automate all this stuff that previously they had to go and do, let alone remember, which they might not even do, and that alone.
The efficiency is just, that's what amazes me. The sales are cool. Like obviously, like there's no doubt that the sales are cool. Money speaks. But the efficiency of it all just blows my mind.
Oh, yeah. And there's so many people, especially in the wedding industry, because I get it. In the wedding industry specifically, obviously, you're talking about the most important night of someone's life. And there's a lot of sort of time and care and effort. And everyone's this boutique high-end DJ. And listen, I get that. I respect that because there's a lot of people who put in a lot of time and effort to make sure that every wedding's perfect. But it's sad that they're not even considering the fact that you can still do that, but you can automate all the other BS that you say the same every single time and get 20 to 40% of your time back.
And so much of the time with sales, the first person to touch point, like the first person to reply back, is going to be that top of mind person. They're going to get that sale. And by having that automation in place and setting a parameter, whether it's like replying back 12 minutes after you get a lead, 6 minutes after you get a lead, and by text message too, blows people's minds. I can't tell you, I mean, you can look through my file and see how many couples that reach out to us and get a text back, 12 minutes later, automated, are like, holy shit, you guys are fast. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting because obviously a DJ, I won't even argue it. A DJ is probably one of the most important things that you'll hire for your wedding, but the clients don't understand that. They don't necessarily believe that. They think of it the same as if you're going to go hire a plumber or an electrician. Yep. And so it's funny because literally earlier today I was talking, I have a partnership with another firm that they specifically do marketing in the auto industry. And they work with wrap shops, body shops, stuff like that. And we're doing automation with them. And what's interesting is when we work with them, when a lead comes in, they don't care who does the work. As long as they're basically going and talking to like the first 3 to 5 leads that come up on Google. And they don't care who gets back to them. If it's someone who has good reviews, they show good work product, the first person who responds, they're getting the work.
Yep. No
doubt about it. And DJs, I feel, are the same way because, again, people don't understand how important of a decision it is. And it doesn't matter how boutique you are, unless the client understands how important you are, they're still going to consider whoever gets back to them first most important.
Well, and it's also how you automate too. So if you automate, you get back to them quickly and you show that human side, whether it's automated or genuine, which I believe automated can be genuine. You know, you're the one putting in the work. You're the one putting in the verbiage. You know, you're getting the touch points. You're replying back. And I am going to follow your lead. Actually, drinking Four Roses small batch select tonight.
You know, it's funny because I noticed that on all your other shows, you typically go and talk about like the cocktail, and you go all the mixing instructions up front.
Yep.
You like pre-record it, which is awesome. I hugely appreciate it. But then I thought about tonight's episode being that we had to go to Plan B, and I could just imagine this being like one of those older Di Serrano on the Di Serrano commercials where it's like, and now we're going to make Di Serrano with cranberry. Here's pour 2 ounces of Di Serrano, 1 ounce cranberry. Di Serrano with cranberry. They make it sound like so prestigious. It's like fucking 2 ingredients. Chill your shit.
The ice is a very important. I actually have a really cool, like solid clear crystal ice maker too. Got it on Amazon. It was like $40. It's awesome.
Oh, see, now you're trying to go and flex on me. I got my $5 Amazon molds.
Hey man, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it. Just the other one, the circles, like the balls, you can actually see completely through them. And talk about marketing. I don't even remember where it was. Actually, no, it was in Phoenix, Arizona, because it was for DJ Collective. Went to a steak restaurant. It was like a steak and bourbon restaurant. And you can get, you know, normal cube like you would use for free, or you could get a ball for $1, and they would donate that dollar to testicular cancer research. I always thought that was a cool
That's
marketing
really cool.
piece.
I like that.
So if you've got any restaurant clients, definitely feel free to pass that on.
I do have one restaurant client out of Chicago that I still work with. They're actually one of my first clients ever, and they've been with me for, well, now 6 years. But they don't do bourbon yet, so I'll work on that.
Okay. Yeah, man.
I might steal that.
So before I get into Mike, the person, not the businessman, not the consultant, not the DJ, I kind of want to ask you one question. So I am in this a group. One of the cool things about working with Mike as a client is you get access to a Facebook group, which gets you access to other like minds, people that are other clients of his, and you can pick their brain. And it's an ever-going conversation on Facebook Messenger, sometimes more productive than not. Are you ending that group? And it's not a negative if you are. I was just kind of, I don't pay too much attention. I pick your brain when I need. I check in when I need to.
So we're getting the real now. we're going to go into a part of me that I've never even done in an interview before. Well, my gut tells me right now that I'm shutting down the group. We've been doing, I guess, for a little bit more context, is that I've been having a higher end inner circle mastermind group of DJs for the past 3 years. I haven't really talked about it much. I have not advertised it. I haven't had the need to, because basically if I get contacted by someone such as yourself, Alex, I'm able to go and identify those who are doing really, really well, and then take what I know from the business side, the marketing side, and apply it to you to help you scale. And that's kind of why we started working together. Yep. And we have about 40 members or so in that group, and we have for the past 3 years. But one thing that really kind of hit me hard was that during COVID, not everyone in the group did this, but I noticed that across the board, and even outside the group, that people in the wedding industry, DJs especially, were very pessimistic, like almost to a toxic level. Yep. And it really kind of took me down, because here I am, I was still showing up. I mean, we have calls every single Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central Time. And we're talking about sales, mindset, positioning, branding, websites, advertising, full 9 yards. And during COVID, all I heard was pessimism, or why something wouldn't work, or I don't really want to talk about it, or people just didn't show up. And it really kind of took a toll on me mentally, because I really, really love the wedding industry and I really love coaching you guys. But ultimately, it just kind of got to me where, obviously, first off, during all of 2020, no one could afford to join the group. Yep. So from a financial perspective, it made no sense to me to continue to dedicate my time to said group. I think that I will continue to do some consulting work in the wedding industry on a case-by-case basis, on a private one-on-one level. But as a group kind of thing for now, I think I'm going to hold off for a bit, because I need a break. It's been a while. I
don't blame you, man. And I was actually even going to go there in your personal life segment here, in terms of like those meetings being at 9 p.m. That's actually the sole reason why I didn't do them, because and again, I run my own business like a business. I'm in my office during office hours, and that 9 p.m. is usually family time or me sitting on the couch alone drinking a bourbon time or mixed drink time. But yeah, man, you dedicate so much and you give so much. And I even reached out to you on Sunday for a favor, and I was like, dude, do not do that today. It can wait till the week.
It's funny. There's people who contact me. It could be 7 a.m. on a Sunday, and they're still going to go and ask for it. But I mean, in a way, I think that's why I've been so blessed the way that I am, is because I go and make sure that I'm openly available as much as possible. And I think that's what saved me during COVID, because here I am losing more than half of my business. But because of that way that I treat people, it kind of paid back tenfold. And now we are more than twice as busy as we would have been if we launched 10X Weddings. I mean, right now I'm working in, I think, around 10 or 12 different verticals. And so, I mean, my day starts typically around 5:30, 6 a.m. We puppy sit for a local police officer who's going through some stuff. So she gets dropped off around 5:30 or so. And then basically, Amanda and I kind of do coffee. We work out in the morning. We just got Apple Watches. We're doing the Apple Fitness Plus thing, which is hugely helpful. But then after that, I'm in the office easily 12 hours a day, easily, no doubt. And so even if it's like, I've done this a couple times where I had a client message me or something's wrong or someone's email isn't working, and I'll jump out of bed at like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, I'm going, I got you. Let's fix this. And yeah, it's really taxing. But at the same time, I can't imagine if I didn't do it. Like, I feel guilty at times, like if you ever had a bride contact you and saying like, I've had this happen to me once when I was still DJing. Have you ever had a bride contact you the night before their wedding and they were nervous?
A few times, like not a ton, and which is shocking.
It's not a ton, but when it happens, you feel like you're obligated to be that voice of reason, right? And
yeah, I think
that's kind of the feeling. Time. Yeah, but that's kind of the feeling that I get every single time a client contacts me, because in my mind, I always am thinking of, hey, if I go and extend myself for this client this time, how is this going to pay me back? I don't expect anything to pay me back. I never do. But I guess I kind of believe in karma. Like, hey, if I give something out into the world, it's going to come back. And so far that's rang true.
Yep.
I don't want to hedge on it, but at the same time, I feel like it's the right thing to do.
So I have two schools of thought on that, just directly relating to you. And I'm not a psychologist by any means. I'm not licensed. I have been to a therapist before.
And there's 2 more bourbons than you might be.
Yes, of course. So number one, I think you're good at what you do, great at what you do even. And I think because you're great at what you do, you're passionate about it. People tell you that you're great at what you do, which kind of fuels your fire as a DJ. You want to hear that you're good. You can't just be good at something or great at something and not hear it. You need to hear it. You need to know it. You need to feel it. With a DJ, you don't necessarily need to hear it as much, because you could feel it in your crowd. Mm-hmm. But you're great at what you do, and people tell you that, and people pay you for that. So I think there's always going to be work for you, no matter what vertical it is, because if one vertical fails or goes sour on you or is negative or encounters something like COVID-19, there's going to be another vertical like the construction industry or the shower industry, the window industry that is thriving, that is going to come to you like, hey, we've got a good product. We need to get our shit together. We want you to help us. So that's my one school of thought. My number 2 school of thought is like, this dude needs to set fucking boundaries. Like, that's just number 2. Like, and I've gotten better at that. I have been terrible at that in the past. And that's the only reason I preach it. And everything is always a projection in what people say. And I say that to you because I failed in that regard in my life. I've failed to set boundaries before. People have taken advantage of me, and I've run the risk of getting bitter. Luckily, I persevered and I believed in myself. But I do believe when you don't set boundaries and you're responding to somebody at 5 a.m. or 7 a.m. when it's Amanda time, or what is your you and Amanda have a kid? What is
Nick? Yeah,
Nick. Yeah, when it's family time there, I feel like that's like, okay, phone down, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear from you about your problems. But again, I do also believe that is like what has led to your success. And so in your head, like, I need to continue that.
Yeah, I mean, to your second part, yes, absolutely. And that's something that I've been trying to work on more this year in particular. I've I've purposely, over the last month or so, I've been doing a lot better in terms of on weekends, I don't work, period. Like I can't. But what's funny is that you almost got to the point where you mentioned this whole idea of hustle porn.
Yes.
That's been so big for the past couple of years. And it was definitely stemming from Gary Vaynerchuk. He was huge on it. And I don't know if he always meant it to be hustle porn or never meant it that way, because now he's been trying to dial that back a bit and saying, hey, no, I sleep like 10 hours on the weekends or 12 hours on the weekends kind of a thing. And I can't tell whether or not he's being honest enough with it, because part of me thinks that he's just saying that because he realized how stupid the whole hustle porn thing was back in the day when he started it, and he's kind of regretting it now. But either way, I definitely subscribed to that in the beginning, because I mean, that's what got me here. And I guess we can kind of dive into it. I don't know if you want to, but
yeah, definitely.
Originally, I grew up in Chicago, born and raised, and then I moved to Austin, Texas 3 years ago in May. And I did it. There's no family, no friends down here. I mean, we completely up and left.
Now, is this you and Amanda?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know whether you met Amanda in Texas or Chicago.
Yeah, no. So Amanda and I we've been together for 5 years now, I believe. We've been basically everything but the ring for years at this point.
Yeah. Same.
Well, I'll get to that in a second.
Yes.
So what happened originally is we lived back in Chicago. She was going through some tough times with her ex, and I don't want to tell her story because it's her story, but there was some bad stuff involved. And so that's how we got together, because we were friends all the way through high school. And then she just like realized like, oh, maybe I should go for the friend. Like I should play the friend card here. And so when we got together, we lived in a town called Naperville in Illinois, which is northwest suburb outside of Chicago, actually straight west suburb. But either way, Naperville, Illinois is the whitest place in the world for sure. Like no doubt, it's literally like white picket fence. Everything's perfect. However, we weren't in Naperville. We were just outside Naperville. We were living in a fairly nice like apartment condo situation outside of Naperville. She actually worked as a phlebotomist at the time for Northwestern Hospital. And obviously I was still running a Licks. We both made really good money. I mean, I made okay compared to now, I made okay money. And I'm not saying that to flex, but what I'm trying to go and emphasize is that she made good money. I made okay money. So together we made pretty good money. But the problem was that because Nick was like 2 at the time, she had to go and wake up at 4:00 in the morning to get ready for work, to take Nick over to her mom's place over closer to the city, have her watch Nick during the day, and then drive to work. She did 100 miles round trip every single day. And I didn't see her until like 7:30 at night during the week. And so by the time that she got home, we ate dinner, and then she was so dead tired, she passed on the couch. So we had 0 time together. And I looked at this, I'm just like, this is not how I want to spend my life. I don't want her to work all day, for us to spend maybe a couple hours together if it's a good day. And then like for Nick not to spend time with her and her not to spend time with Nick. So I says, no, we need to change something. And so it was at that point that I hired a coach to go and help me go and grow professionally. And I started going back and forth to Austin, meeting with him. And then my coach's name was Gallant Dill. Still friends with him, still talk to him all the time. And I was his 3rd student ever. And then the first week of working with him and doing this model, like he just forced us all on cold calls. And in the first week of working with him, I made a really nice 5 figures. And I was like, oh shit, this is great. Hey, Amanda, you're quitting your job. We're moving cross country, because already at the time, due to politics, taxes, and the fact that Illinois is like just pure depression weather 60% of the year, I'm like, no, we're moving to Texas. Mm-hmm. So we got up and left, moved to Austin, and we're never going back. I think Chicago, for the record, has hands down some of the best DJs in the world, has some of the best food in the world, but some of the worst politicians and just terrible taxation.
Well, you
and a lot of crime.
Chicago too. For
what?
The weekend.
Yeah, totally. Like if you go in May for like what is it? The air show, Chicago Sea and Air Show, where they do the boats and planes and stuff. Great time to go to the city. Fantastic. Taste of Chicago. Fantastic. Lollapalooza. Fantastic when they do it and it's not a pandemic. But in general, like it is really sad. I don't know if anyone else from Chicago would admit this, but I mean, quite frankly, Chicago is a very, very violent place.
Well, the statistics show that. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I mean, here, one thing that's really funny. So after we moved down to Austin, Texas, one of my other people that I met literally a couple months before I left Chicago to move to Austin, Texas. And I should say I'm leaving Chicago. I'm leaving Naperville, not Chicago. So all the Chicago guys back off. But right as I was leaving, one of these other guys that I was now a business partner that I was talking to, he also wanted to leave the state. So he was looking to go and move to Austin as well. So he moved a few months after me. So I came in May and he moved here in November of that same year. And what was funny is right before he moved, his wife and Amanda, they got really, really close. So they started texting back and forth and learning more about Austin. And what was funny is that Carrie, my partner's wife, she would go and text Amanda and be like, hey, should I be concerned? I just heard about this shooting in Austin. Like, this is a bad thing. And then we're like, whoa, Carrie, you need to understand. In Austin, when a shooting happens, it's big news because it doesn't happen all that time. In Chicago on Monday morning, there's quite literally a tally of how many shootings there were that past weekend. Yeah. Like, it's sad and pathetic.
Kind of like Baltimore is the same way.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I haven't been to Baltimore. Is it a good place? Should I visit?
It's very awesome to visit. Yeah. I again, like outside of a pandemic, when you're making your travel plans, yeah, Boston's awesome. So what led you and Amanda to Austin? What was the driving force to bring you to Austin?
Opportunity. Obviously I loved the idea of course, being close to my actual, my coach at the time, Gallant. And I mean, there was literally for the first, I don't know, 8 months or so after we moved here, every single night, Gallant and I would go and walk the neighborhood and we would just talk business and grow and kind of teach each other and stuff. And it was super, super awesome. And just that idea at the time, that idea of doing this and just going and completely up and leaving life, just felt right. Granted, I can do my job anywhere. I can be on a beach in Cancun. I can be in Barbados. I can be in Alaska, and it's all going to be one and the same. Give me a fiber internet signal, and I'm good to go.
Yep.
But Austin at the time just felt right. It was one of those things that once I started coming back and forth from here, it just felt like a place that I needed to be. And now it's kind of funny because in hindsight, specifically now, I mean, we're having homes that are selling for $200,000, $300,000 over list price, cash offers, and the cost of living in Austin in the past 3 years has over doubled from what it used to be when I first started traveling here. And that's terrifying to me. But right now, like internally, literally, this is something that's going through my head right now is Austin is full of opportunity. The fact that the richest man in the world moved here means that I'm probably in the right place.
Who is this? Jeff Bezos?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, yeah. I have trouble keeping track. There was a Mexican cell phone guy, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and not Warren Buffett, but
which, for the record, I think like Bezos and Elon Musk, they're neck and neck, and it changes
goes
every
back and
couple
forth
weeks.
Depending on like the week or the month. Yeah,
it depends on the stock price and what's going on with the stock market. Which I've heard on previous episodes. You've been talking about the stock market a lot. How's your weed stocks going?
Better than when I bought them.
But not as high as you've seen them.
So it was probably like 6 or 7 weeks ago at this point where some of them were up 800%. And I probably could have cashed out. I don't know, man. I still think they're long-term investments. So
for sure.
When I've talked like my weed plays, I guess you could say, and I always have to preface that I'm not a smoker. I wish I was. I don't know where to even get it because it's not legal in Pennsylvania yet. But I'm looking at like articles. I'm looking at charts. I'm looking at data where I want to see that one company that sells at a top 5 level across multiple states, and that hasn't existed yet. Because I do think 20, 25 years from now, there's going to be a Miller Lite, a Marlboro, and Coca-Cola, a Q-tip of weed stocks, or of a weed company. Pardon me.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it just earlier this week? Did Mexico sign that weed is legal?
Did they?
I believe so.
Well,
I saw it in passing on my Google feed.
That explains probably my little bumps on the wheat stocks I've had. I mean, they're like, some of them are sitting at above 100% where I bought them, which, you can't complain about that, but
No,
yeah, they're not.
I mean, hey, it's better than playing GameStop and AMC, because I did AMC. I thought, it's funny. I feel as though, one of the few things that I will gloat on is I feel like I have a decent pulse of what's happening on the internet from a kind of subtle, like, kind of, how do I want to describe it? If you read what's happening on the internet, it's one thing, but if you truly watch the trends and look at the kind of tonality that people are using, there's a lot more to it. And so when the whole GameStop thing was shooting up, I'm big on Reddit, and I'm not going to go and disclose my Reddit username like you did.
Oh, man.
But when I was watching that, I jumped on Discord. I watched the chats flow in real time, and I'm like, I just felt like this was right, and I felt like it was the right move. GameStop was 100% a solid move no matter what, but I felt like the price was too high that I wasn't going to get enough gains out of it. So I went for the AMC, which I thought at the time was the second best. Boy, was I fucking wrong. Lost a ton of money. Now, I think it was really just a matter of I didn't have the right brokerage because I was using Robinhood, which fuck Robinhood.
Dude, TD Ameritrade, I can't say enough about it. It's great.
I'm working on that. I will be changing. But at the time, I did a market buy on AMC when the price was originally like $7.80, and then it didn't actually buy until it hit $12 or $13 or $14, something like that. I'm like, oh fuck! Well, there goes everything that I thought I was going to get.
Yeah. Now, can you set maximum on Robinhood?
I'm sorry, what was that?
So on TD Ameritrade, when I want to buy a stock, I could set a minimum and a maximum. Can you do that?
So you can do a limit buy and a limit trade, but I think it was purely a matter of me not understanding the app, to be honest with you. Because originally I had a decent holding of Tesla stock that I had for quite some time until I had to cash it out for personal reasons. But I never really used it that often, so I didn't understand the capabilities of it. But now in hindsight, I'm like, oh, that's how you do a limit buy. So I should have done that in hindsight. Yes, it's completely on me. But either way, still fuck Robinhood. But what I will go and say is that lately I've actually I found there's one mid to long-term play that I'm in right now. It's Atossa Therapeutics, ATOS. They have had a few clinical trials for this cancer medication that has a 90% cure rate for breast cancer and ovarian cancer. Wow. And they're waiting on FDA approval, which I think will shoot up their stock price. And then also they have the first nasal vaccinate, like the nasal spray vaccination for COVID as well. And they're waiting on approval on that.
Seriously, nasal spray. I just got my first shot today, by the way.
How's the microchip? You get Siri or
is good. Yeah, no, it's Siri, so she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing.
That's awesome.
How can Apple be like one of the biggest companies in the world and like their Siri, their AI system is the fucking worst? Have you ever asked Siri what operating system you're using right now?
I have not, actually.
No, yep, she has no idea. And so Alexa, I don't know about you. Like I have Amazon smart devices in my house. The Cubes and all of our TVs are actually Amazon Fire TVs.
So of the big three, first off, I'm a Google person through and through, which is funny because I have iPads. I'm now iPhone, Apple Watch, MacBook, whole nine yards. Yeah. But I will hold on to Google through and through because I think Google Assistant is by far the smartest. I think Amazon Alexa is the most fun, but Siri is just straight garbage.
Trash.
Absolute trash.
How much did they pay when they acquired Siri? Do you know?
Wait, did they acquire Siri?
Yeah. I forgot Siri was a separate app within Apple. I had it before it launched.
I forgot about that.
And I'll tell you what. So that was probably 2014, 2015.
Was it that recent?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, my God. You're unlocking memories I forgot I had.
And I think Siri was better then than she is now.
Comparatively speaking at the time for what capabilities they had.
When she was a separate app, she was better than...
Wasn't it like Dragon? The company was like Dragon something? Dragon Speaker like that?
I don't even know. Yeah, I have no idea.
Oh, why is that sticking in my head so strongly? Oh, wow. Now you're going to... This is going to be one of those things that you're going to wake me up at like 2 a.m. and be like, holy shit, I remember it now. And I'm going to text you.
If I was Joe Rogan, I could say, Jamie, look that up.
Yeah, right? When are you going to get your own Jamie? Come on.
Yeah, I need my own... Well, I had to run over to my computer over there, which is like our studio software, and I've got a whole mixing board before we even started. So when Mike came on board, he saw an empty chair here.
Yeah, I was like, why am I looking at Alex's ass? Like, come on.
Hey, man.
At least he did leg day.
Yeah, right. Today was actually leg day. But I want to get into you and Amanda a little bit more because I think it's a cool story. Like you guys moved from Chicago to Austin. And, dude, did you guys vacation or even check out Austin, or was it just on a whim?
Her first and only impression of Austin before we moved here was we actually came because we were at a mastermind event for Gallant, and we used it as half helping Gallant go and teach, because I was Gallant's third student ever, for the record.
Okay.
And so I was traveling back and forth to and from Austin for 2 or 3 years. And I would come here basically every other month. And Gallant would go and because of my early success with his program, I would come in and I would help teach at his masterminds. And so one of the times when I was like, Amanda, we need to move there. And I was like, I'm booking you a ticket. You're coming with me this time. And I think it was in February. And we spent half the time teaching a bunch of people trying to go and do the same thing that I did. And then the other half of the time just going and seeing Austin and enjoying the lifetime. And honestly, like, for example, one of the things I think sold her is that there's a sushi restaurant not that far from me in a town called Cedar Park. It's northwest Austin. And it's called Soto. There's a Soto location downtown, but it's more expensive and it's not as good as the place in the burbs. So if you go to Cedar Park, Texas, and you go to Soto, it's next to a Party City. You're going to be like, why the hell do I go to a sushi place next to Party City? It's dope. It's some of the best sushi I've ever had. It's got A5 Wagyu. It's got tuna belly, fatty tuna belly. It's incredible. I mean, you will take out another mortgage payment,
Who the fuck cares, man?
I mean, it's so worth it.
I'm that kind of person that I will spend money on food. Like, I love a good restaurant experience.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's funny because, I mean, in Texas, we, of course, have like really, especially if you go to like Houston and Dallas, you have like those really high end, like $400 a person type steakhouses where they're going to bring out cotton candy inside of a balloon that's all made out of sugar and completely edible. But it's not, the food's like, but I'll be honest. I mean, in terms of food, we have a lot, obviously really good barbecue. We have really good steaks. And I was really surprised at the sushi that it's expensive, but I think it's worth every dollar because it's so good.
I wish I could remember the name of the place, and I'll send it to you privately. But the first DJ collective ever was in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, asshole.
Yeah, it's not me, man. I'm sorry. You would have definitely been in. Like, you probably would have made the whole thing way more interesting. And I love the DJ collective, and I've actually been back to this restaurant since then because it was left such a lasting memory. But it's a Japanese restaurant in Austin, Texas. I have no idea, man. Like, I'm the most useless person right now. But I will tell you guys ahead of the time when I do the introduction to the podcast. I'll name the restaurant and I'll send it to you too. But it's fucking dope, man. It's so good. And I thoroughly enjoyed that touristy area where Container Bar is and that street with all the bars that are like little houses.
Rainy Street, yep.
Yeah, dude, it was fun as fuck. I would move to Austin, Texas right now.
It's
expensive
as hell.
These weren't so fucking crazy. Like,
well, so get this.
10 years ago, man. 10 years ago, 12 years ago is when you.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you came here even 5 years ago, you could have easily bought like a plot of 10 acres for maybe, I don't know, I'm spitballing, let's say 20 grand, and you could have easily made $200,000 on just the land alone right now, no doubt.
Yep.
And it's sad because right now, like, my neighbors, love my neighbors to death. They're super awesome. If they're watching this on the off chance, hi, how you doing? Or listening, for the record. But they were talking about like, hey, I mean, what if we were going to go and sell our house? Because, I mean, full disclosure, I rent right now because I didn't know if we wanted to stick in Austin or not. And so we were renting, we thought originally for about a year, and then we were going to build, but then COVID happened and yada, yada, yada. But so basically I'm stuck in this kind of rut where we're going to be renting for quite some time, more than likely, just because I can't justify paying $200,000, $300,000 over on a house that's worth.
Because Austin is like outside of the normal human parameters. Anywhere else?
It's ridiculous. It's the new California at this point. It's crazy. But my neighbors, they own their home, and they're like, hey, what if we go and sell our home? Because right now they have the exact same model of their home built down the street that went for, I think, $200,000, $300,000 more than what they bought it for. And I'm like, that'd be awesome. Good for you. But if you want to still stay in the area, you're going to spend every single one of those pennies on the next property that you want, and you're not going to get anything more for it.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, I almost feel like, again, you're a financially pretty smart person. I feel like renting in Austin, at least in this time, is probably the wiser move.
Honestly, I mean, I don't know if I fully feel comfortable saying that or agreeing with that yet, but I hope it is. I really hope it
I
is.
feel comfortable, dude. Knowing what I know about real estate, yeah, I 100% think that. And now, if you like decided in 2012, like fresh out of high school or whatever year it was, that you want to move to Austin, Texas, fuck yeah, buy, and you would probably, 5x, not 10x, but 5x to
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because, like I said, I mean, we originally, our full intention was we rent for about a year and a half, and then go and either build or buy.
Yep.
And at the time, we wanted to build, but I can't remember what the reason was. Building wasn't going to work out in terms of timeline because of us. We didn't want to stay where we're at currently. Ended up we're here anyway, but we wanted to go and buy. And so we were like, hey, well, we fell in love originally with this model home in a neighborhood that was drop dead gorgeous, fantastic. And originally they wanted, I think it was like 700, 800 for it, furnished, beautifully furnished. And I was like, done, sold. I want it. Can I put money down on it now? And he's like, no, they're not going to let me, because the builder at the time, they wouldn't do it. And then of course, COVID happened, because then they pushed back originally they wanted us to go, and they said that they can sell it in like June or July of that particular year. But then they had to push it back because they still had plots of land that they couldn't sell. They couldn't sell the model until all the land plots were purchased. And so then the purchase got pushed back 6 months. Then COVID happened. So then they delayed the build of the next neighborhood. So they couldn't sell the model then. I feel like I'm rambling now, but basically what I'm saying is I wanted this house, but then it just kept on getting pushed back. And now, because the property keeps on going up and up and up in value the way it has, now they're going to be wanting probably like 1.3, 1.4 for a house that's maybe worth 700 furnished.
Yeah,
and it's like,
you have to
I'm not
wonder
paying
when the Austin, Texas bubble is going to burst. I
don't think it will.
No?
I think it's going to stabilize at some point, and I think it's going to happen in the next 2 years. But I don't think it's going to pop.
Okay.
I based on the people that I've talked to, I'm very fortunate to know some people in some very high places in Austin who make more money than I could ever imagine. And one of the people that I know, I actually had a phone call with him last week, and I was having this exact conversation with him, and he's like, "Listen, I don't think it's going to pop. I think it's going to stabilize in the next 2 years, but it's not going to pop because." For example, he owns a ranch of 400 acres in far north Austin, and the state just said, "Hey, we're going to build a highway directly through your ranch, and we don't care if you say no or not, but we're going to pay you for it."
Yes,
and it's a large sum of money. And he's like, "Okay, then I'm going to go and build housing developments on the side of my ranch and bail it off the highway." I'm like, I wish I had a 400-acre ranch with a highway built through it. Like, that's amazing.
And like any place in America, man, like even in State College, Pennsylvania, like if I had ancestors 100 years ago that had the foresight to think, hey, there's going to be a major university here, there's going to be a major highway going through it, there's going to be industries, let me buy this parcel of land, the 400 acres, which was super affordable then, undeveloped.
It's like, I'll give you a bus token and a quarter.
Yeah, man. But it's all foresight, and like God, and very few things in life are luck, but I feel like that kind of thing is luck.
Oh, 100%. And it's funny too, because I've always had this kind of chip on my shoulder in terms of people are like, "Oh, you're so lucky to get where you're at." And I never understood it until very recently that luck has more to do with things in business than you really think it does, because I've always been this kind of person where it's like, hey, I've made the conscious decision to make these actions or do these things to get to where I am. And I never wanted luck to be one of those factors, and now because of COVID, because of the kind of, I guess, mindset that I've kind of discovered because of the things that we've gone through in the last 12, 14 months, however long it is, I don't know. I've been able to go and realize that, what, I mean, there is a bit of luck to it. And
luck meets opportunity and hard work.
Yeah. I mean, you have to go and work to find said luck.
Like, you're not going to sit on your couch and the shit's not going to fucking happen to you.
No, you can't just go and have positive mantras that you say it every morning at 7 a.m. and then just sit on your couch and wait. Like,
Yeah.
no, you can't do that.
I've always like had like anybody that's ever said you're so lucky, I've just wanted to fucking pop them in the face so bad.
Yeah, same. I was
like, fuck you, luck, man. Like, I fucking worked my ass off. Like you, 12, 13, 14-hour days. And I've been the hustle porn dude for so long. Until I've realized, like, I went to a therapist, man. It's not healthy a lot of times.
Yeah, I get it. You know, the one thing that I will go and say that I really appreciate out of COVID, I mean, I personally don't have a therapist. Maybe I should. I don't know. But what I do like is that 2020 really allowed people to be more vulnerable and kind of allow the normalization of therapy and talking to someone about the things that are going through your head. And that's huge. That's a huge step, I feel.
Yes. Yeah, I think a lot of people's a lot of people's lives have been drastically changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like our daycare, which luckily like Genevieve is back in daycare now, and she's doing that, which is great for her too, but also great for me. Like, because I was Kristen, my significant other, her place of work never shut down, and she was a GM at a nice restaurant here in town. So she worked close to like 12 or 13-hour days a lot of times. So I was at home with a 3-year-old or 2-year-old even, which I was not used to. I'm like, I love my daughter. She's cool. Like, we spend some time together, but like 12-hour days before she sleeps.
It's rough,
man. Yeah. It's a different world.
It's
totally, like, by the way, like, I dissed on this member of our group before, and I'm going to publicly recognize him, Seth.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, dude, what the fuck is this guy talking about? He doesn't have any time to do this shit. Dude, just do it. I feel you, man. I get you now.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and I'll admit, I even did it as a coach. And Seth, hopefully you are listening to this, because you know what? I can't speak for Alex, but I think him and I would both agree in saying that, like, we were all very hard on you.
We were super hard on that fucking guy, man.
We just smeared him in the mud every single time. I mean, here's the one thing. It's obviously not everyone has the same sort of mental capacity or strength as some of us. And I understand that now, but I'll be honest, I understand it more now than ever. I'll probably catch shit for this, for saying this, from Amanda, but we recently learned that our son, he has a sensory processing disorder, and it's not ADHD. It's not anything that serious. It's simply, I guess, the kind of, I guess, root of it is that he doesn't understand the feelings that he feels in his fingers, his toes, his hearing, his taste. Like, nothing is totally being processed. And what's, I guess, my biggest shortcoming as a human is that I have a very short temper with people who, for lack of a better term, are stupid. And I don't mean that my child is stupid by any means. I don't say that. I just think I have a very low patience for people who don't just understand things the first or second time.
Yeah,
that's something that I personally have to work on. And with him, with my son, for example, and especially during COVID, it was so hard. I mean, we were very lucky because Texas never really, we shut down our schools, but then we went back in person pretty quickly. And we've never been diagnosed with COVID. We're totally fine. I mean, granted, we're hermits, but yeah, our son's going to school, and our school has had cases of COVID, but we never got it. But that's besides the point. But I mean, there's been many days that, just based on his mannerisms, that both Amanda and myself, I mean, life is rough. Because when you have that short of patience and the child does not understand what you're trying to go and explain to them, and they repeatedly do things that you tell them no and explain to them why in the nicest way possible, I mean, you get to your wit's end. And I mean, my feelings go out to any parent during COVID, and especially even still to this day, because obviously back in certain states, especially up north by y'all, you don't hear me saying y'all. I've been here for 3 years. But like there's a lot of parents that you've had to go and spend time with your children in capacities that you never thought you were ever going to experience. You've not had any breaks. And I'm definitely a firm believer of, hey, you cannot pour from a bucket that's empty. You just can't.
Right.
And there's some very rough moments as a parent through the past 12 months that I've gone through, and I can only imagine what a lot of other people have gone through. I only have one of them. If I had more, if I had 6, how many children does Seth have? I feel bad about talking about this, but
6. Like, I know it's terrible, but like,
he's got a lot, and that's rough. That's really, really rough.
Dude fucks, man.
So that's a great icebreaker. Yeah, that works.
I could relate to you because Daniel Tiger, have you ever heard of this guy?
Of course, yeah. We have his little trolley toy set downstairs.
Okay. So Genevieve's only 3. She was 2 at the beginning of the pandemic when daycare shut down and it wasn't even an option. But she was at home, and we would, I would try my best to structure the day. Like, hey, here's your iPad time. Here's our educational time. Here's our play time. And again, it's difficult. That very rarely came to fruition. But Daniel Tiger had a mantra in one episode. He was like, when you feel so mad that you want to roar, take a deep breath and count to 4. And I'm 42 years old, and I catch myself losing my temper, my 2-year-old, and I almost come to tears when I hear this fucking shit. And I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty good advice, man. Like, if you feel angry, take it in, take a step back, count to 4, figure out why you're angry, and then to go from there. But yeah, for me to do that with the cartoon, dude, that's fucked up. But yeah.
I get it. I totally get it. And it's funny because, granted, I'm still young. I mean, I'm 27.
Okay, I was wondering. Yeah.
No, I'm young as shit. But what's really funny is that I'm very self-aware that I act older than I do or than I am, and I speak older than I really am. It's kind of just the way that was brought up, which I appreciate. And obviously, without trying to sound cocky, I think at a higher level. And I don't mean that as like a higher level, like I'm smarter than anyone. I say that in a way of like, I was thinking about how I would be as a parent, even when I was 21. Like I'm trying to go and formulate, okay, when I do have a child, how am I going to approach it? That's kind of what I mean. And when I'm going through this process, in my mind, I'm just like, my kid's going to be totally normal. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to go and kind of raise him the same way that I was raised, yada, yada, yada. But you can't anticipate any of that. You can't plan any of that, because whatever you're planning, 99.9% of the time, you're completely wrong. It's going to be different because Nick is a beautiful child. He's not my blood child, but I still treat him as my own, of course. And nothing is as I anticipated. And in a way, I'm appreciative of it because it's now helping me grow as a person, because now I'm identifying I'm identifying issues in myself, because I thought lesser of children who had issues such as these. Like, I remember because again, I was a huge theme park kid. And then when I started hearing that theme parks were opening up sensory break areas in the park, or having like special rooms for kids with sensory issues, I'm like, why? I don't get this. But now I totally understand it, and I get it. And it's really eye-opening for me, because I'm able to identify my own problems in myself that I don't think, if someone told me, it's like when someone tells you, hey, you're being racist. Well, of course they're going to say, no, I'm not racist. Yeah. Like, I have a black friend. Like, no, like, shut up. But when it's the same thing with this whole idea of children with disorders, it's like, hey, disorders are stupid. Well, no, disorders are not stupid. Well, like, yeah, they are. But now when you go through it, and because I'm the type of person that I don't believe it until I experience it myself.
Yep.
And so I'm empathetic now. I get it. I completely understand it.
So when we talk about sensory experiences, I've only actually heard the buzzwords with larger events and things like that. What does that drill down to? I actually don't understand that. Okay, so I'll give you an example. A few weeks ago, we all went to the park as a family, and then Nick had to go to the bathroom. So we walk him home, and he goes to the bathroom, and I feel really bad because I know that eventually, like, he might find this podcast 20 years from now and listen back to it. So we'll figure this out. But hey, Nick, love you. So he went back home, and he went to the bathroom, and then as he got out, he puts his shorts on, and they don't fit right. They just don't feel right.
So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, then we'll go retie them. I'm going to try retying them. And, oh, they're too tight. And then like retie them again. Oh, they're too loose. They're falling. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I mean, do you just want to go and try on different shorts? Do you want to go upstairs and try on different shorts? Find your favorite pair of shorts. He goes upstairs, puts on his traditional favorite pair of shorts, but he's a growing child. He's almost 6 now. So he puts on another pair of shorts, and they're too tight because he's growing, of course.
Yes.
And so now those are too tight, and he's crying. I'm like, okay, then put on your other pair of shorts, or find a way to make yourself feel better. Just solve your own problems. I'm trying to go and instill in this child the idea that you have to go and solve your own issues or your own problems. And so he goes back to his other pair of shorts, and I retie these shorts, kid you not, I think somewhere between 12 and 14 times. Till the point where he finally realizes that we're not going to find the perfect medium, and he just deals with it. But then he has to put his shoes back on, and his shoes don't feel right, and his socks don't feel right. And so then at that point, I'm at my wit's end. And so I'm just like, okay, fine, we're not going back to the park. And that's just a small example of what it's like. Because, I mean, kids with sensory issues, fortunately, we've been able to go and kind of get through pandemic together because my neighbors also have a similar issue with one of their children. And they are way more experienced than I ever could be on this, because my neighbor's brother had sensory issues. And so my neighbor's mother of the brother, she was going and giving us a bunch of different books and stuff on this and trying to understand it better. But I mean, there's children who they can't eat anything crunchy. They can't have anything slimy. They have to blend all their food. Even if it's like pasta with spaghetti sauce, they have to blend it. I mean, it's absolutely wild. It's the smallest little things that you think could never bother anyone. But for children who have this particular disorder, it just drives them up the fucking wall. And as a parent, I can't speak for parents who go through other particular disorders or other issues, but for me, I know it literally drives me to my last straw at times, and it's very, very difficult.
It's got to be tough, man, because like you want to leave the house, you want to do this thing, you want to take them to something fun, and you experience all these roadblocks, and it's just a matter of like, let me control my cool, let me understand them, let me be empathetic with them. And just let
we can't go on road trips. We can't go anywhere too far away. We can't, we went to San Antonio yesterday. We were planning on spending the whole day in San Antonio.
It's only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away, right?
Yeah, give or take. And we couldn't spend more than a few hours because whatever we were doing, by the time that we were in it, he got bored of it or something happened that made him off. And so then we had to go and do something else, or he eventually just wanted to go home. We're in the middle of the Alamo. I'm like, I'm trying to study. Like, I feel like as a Texan, you have to go to the Alamo. You have to remember the Alamo. But of course, he just wants to go home. And so we had to go and speed through all of that. But I mean, it's something that I signed up for, honestly. Yeah. And I don't regret it. I love everything about my life. I wouldn't change a damn thing. Of course, everyone has challenges. And if this is my only challenge in life currently, then I'm relatively okay with that.
But I think it's going to make you a better person. And it's also going to make him recognize you as a better dad.
I hope so.
I think so. I'm confident in that.
I hope so, for sure.
I believe in you, man. By the way, too, like I went with Glenn Roush and his crew. They do a whitewater rafting trip every year.
I've been meaning to go and link up with him. He invited me on his boat when I saw him at Midwest DJs Live.
Yeah, dude, he's amazing. He's such
2 years ago? Because he's in Dallas. He's not that far.
Yeah. There was a place they went in between Austin and San Antonio that was notorious for whitewater rafting, and I flew into
New Braunfels.
New Braunfels, yeah. Fun as fuck, man.
New Braunfels is really cool. They have a really dope water park called Schlitterbahn. It's called Slippery Road in German.
We didn't go there, but we went on the whitewater rafting, which was definitely man-made. It was not like a natural thing. But like our Airbnb was right next to Schlitterbahn. There was a fence like where we can, like I could look out my bedroom window and I could see Schlitterbahn.
Schlitterbahn's really cool because it was the first water park that kind of put together this idea that you never have to get out of the water. You can literally sit in a tube all day and just go around a lazy river. You want to go down a slide, divert yourself off the lazy river, go down the slide, and then go back into the lazy river. It was really cool. Amazing.
Yeah, that was a great trip, man. It was a fun trip. Good spending time with Glenn and his crew. Glenn runs a great company. And if you get networked with him somehow, I think it'd be mutually beneficial for sure.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he's definitely of the sort of group when it comes to the higher end or higher echelon of business thinking DJs. So one of the big things, I guess, one of the big talking points that I had is, because I guess we'll circle back to when I've been going doing consulting with DJs. DJs think like DJs. They don't think like business owners. And Glenn, yourself, of course, you guys think like business owners. You realize that DJing is an artistry. It's obviously very important, and there's a lot of practice that goes into it. And I don't deny that. But when you run a business, you can not think of it as a DJ. You have to go and take the artistry out of it and remember that at the end of the day, you're trying to go and make sales, you're trying to make money. And you're trying to go and scale this because you've been now blessed, you've been lucky to have this opportunity to go and make money doing what you love, and don't take it for granted. And it's very difficult for most DJs to understand that.
I 100% agree. Yeah, I think Glenn probably thinks more like a business person than a DJ, which is crazy because he's a great DJ and he's got a team of great DJs and he's scaled that. He's the exception, not the rule.
100%. I mean, based on the conversations that I've had with him, let's tag him in this, make sure he listens to the recording so we can go and just gas him up the whole time.
I also want the invite back to Schlitterbahn or New Braunfels. But
hey, and then just make sure that I can come that time.
Hell yeah, dude! You and Amanda and Nick, yeah, hell yeah, man!
Let's go for it.
Great trip, and you've got Nate Nelson making gallons of liquor.
Ooh,
these are not.
I'm in.
These are not craft cocktail style liquor. Nate,
no, there is definitely an element of craftiness to a jungle juice.
I don't know, man. I watched him make this shit. He brought up like the Coach size Gatorade buckets, like 3 of them. And they've got their whole team, which is like 20 to 30 DJs, probably like 20 DJs with guys that just couldn't make it or whatever. And Glenn got all the Airbnbs. But Nate is making these jungle juice cocktails in these 3 like 15-gallon containers. He's just dumping Sam's Club and like fucking, what's the other one?
But at the end of the day, Alex, does it taste delicious?
I didn't drink them. I'm too snobby, but everybody else loved them.
Come on, you could drop the pretentiousness for a little bit.
It's not pretend. This is real. This is authentic, man. I'm a fucking snob. I'm an asshole. It is what it is.
I'm actually curious. I want to spin this back on you. So when we moved down to Austin, we went with Gallant's wife out for her birthday one weekend. This is obviously pre-COVID. So this is July 2019. And we went out downtown. And full disclosure, if any DJs listening to this, if you are considering moving to Austin, you have the budget to do so, do it if you're any bit good, because DJs in Austin suck ass. They're terrible. And I'm actually really curious, how would you, if you had to go and listen to DJs from New York, Chicago, and LA, would you go and even chalk up the nightlife scene in your area in that roster? Anywhere near that roster?
In my area, I can't because we're such an ever-evolving town with college students. It's a revolving door. It's very transient. I will agree that Austin is not the best for the size of it.
I think it will change. I think it's going to evolve, but it's only going to evolve if you have good DJs move here. Because right now, no one here truly grasps the artistry in DJing. I mean, when we went out for Chelsea's birthday, I can't tell you how many train wrecks I heard. I can't tell you how many out of key mixes I heard. I mean, it drove me up a fucking wall. I'm literally plastered. We're like maybe 8 shots of tequila deep for the whole night, and I'm literally just yelling at a crowd, be like, "What the fuck? Why are we doing this? Why is this the mix that you're doing?"
I did think the Container Bar had a good DJ.
What's up?
I did think the Container Bar had a really, really good DJ.
Honestly, I'll be truthfully honest with you. I have not been to the Container Bar.
It's not bad. It's very it's kind of touristy.
Okay, I mean that's probably why I didn't go. I mean, we went to Greenlight Social, we went to Concrete Cowboy, we went to there's a bunch of others. Honestly, I don't even remember the names because the weird thing about Austin bars is that they're all on 6th Street, and they're up and down this span of Dirty 6th. And all the entrances, they're back to back to back to back to back. They're all touching, and there's almost no branding, no signage. So you don't know where you're going. You're just walking into a door and paying for drinks. What was that?
It's kind of like a bunch of bars that look like houses.
That's Rainy Street.
Rainy Street.
So Rainy
Sixth
Street is all
downtown?
converted houses. What was that?
Is 6th Street the downtown?
Yes.
So we went down there too. Like, yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'll
6th Street is the one where you'll find the bar with the big like jumbo slide in it.
Okay.
And you can go down the slide and take all your Instagram photos and shit.
I want to fucking live there.
Yeah, exactly. Rainy Street's really cool though because it's all these like old school Austin houses that were converted into bars. Super awesome, super great. Because you're literally like opening up a white picket fence, walking into the front door of a house, and then boom, there's a bar right to your left.
But Instagrammable and touristy as fuck.
Oh, 100%. Plus, you're hanging out with all of UT students too.
Yeah.
Because then, at this point, we're old enough where like you walk in, you're like, shit. This is.
Where
I feel old.
This is where I want to go into you. Like, so the DJ Collective, which is a big thing now, but its first year was just 12 DJs. Brian P, me, and Jason Jani and Joe Bunn kind of coordinated the whole thing. It was like, let's get like the high level people together. Let's like kind of like pick our brains. Let's get some education. But we went downtown, and we were downtown in Austin, and we were at this bar. We walked upstairs, and it was Jason Jani and I'll never forget this. But we walked upstairs, we went to the bar, we got a drink, and they were like, oh, like it didn't cost anything. It was free. Mm-hmm. So we look around, and it was like a Chasing Amy moment, which if you know the movie Chasing Amy, they're at a gay bar. They look around, they realize it's a gay bar. They didn't know that at first, and they're like, oh, okay. So Jason and Jana and I were looking around. It's all like sorority girls. It's all fraternity boys dressed up like they don't know how to dress, but they're trying their best. Like, this is a fucking private party that somehow we found our way into during this education session. And Jani's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna get myself in trouble. And he was the one who said, let's get out. I was like, drinks are free. Let's fucking stay. That's my experience of 6th Street, I believe.
Well, at least you remember that. Most people don't.
I remember most of it. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because 6th Street, Dirty Six is our version of like the French Quarter in New Orleans, where it's completely on the weekends. It's completely roped off. You cannot drive on there. It's basically all these people walking and drinking in the middle of the street, and you've got cops on either end just trying to control the mob. And it's every man for themselves. It's really crazy. It was funny because actually one of our friends, she was there last night, actually, and it was wild. She was saying, unfortunately, her friend got roofied, but that's a whole other story. But they don't call it the Dirty Six for nothing.
Wow. Did she get flurried?
She's good. No, she made it home. Everyone's safe. We're all good.
So I'm going to pour myself one more drink as we wrap up this.
My goal here is to outlast Digital Dave. I have to make sure that we make it past him. I want to be the longest podcast you got so far.
Okay. I'm down with that. I feel like, how are we doing?
Oh, we're fine. I think we're about 15 minutes out from beating Digital Dave,
okay.
I think. If I remember his time correctly. Yeah, I binge listened to all of your episodes up into my recording. I was very excited about this because here's the thing. Like, I like the format. It's funny because it's playing off of the whole like Hot Ones format where you eat hot, like violently hot, spicy wings and you have an interview, but like now we're just drinking heavily. But I like you're a great host for this because you're super casual. I think you're less kind of pokey than Joe Rogan is. You're not trying to push the conversation forward.
I want to get more super
casual. Like, this is great. And I hope someone likes this conversation.
Dude, I think people will. So like my whole goal, if there is a goal here, it's not a monetization goal. Like I make money. It's fine. I want it.
No, this is a tax write-off goal. I get it.
Yes. I can also tax my liquor. Everybody gets that. But no, I want people to find out how people reach success, the struggle they've had in reaching success, like the road bumps they've had, like not just the pretty. And I think you've shared a little bit of that, but like and again, we could go long, dude. I've got nothing going on. I do have an MRI on this fucking shoulder tomorrow.
You good? What happened?
Just years of lifting, man. And so I've got this like nipple on my shoulder. It's like
you got a third nipple on your shoulder? It's
like a breast on my shoulder. It's like a golf ball, depending on the day. It's like a golf ball or tennis-sized ball on my shoulder. And they thought it was a fluid sac. And then they did an ultrasound on it, and they're like, oh, we can't tell if that's fat. I don't know. So the MRI will be able to tell whether it's fat or fluid or whatever.
Well, hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah,
But
I hope so. I hope it's not cancer.
now I hope you understand that every time I see you now, I'd be like, "How's the nipple?"
How's the nipple? The nipples are great. But
Oh
my
god.
question to you was going to be like, I feel like I'm getting diverted from that. Like, and this is the worst question for me to ask because I'm not married either, and I've been with the same girl for on and off 10 years. Like, what's the marriage plan? What's that?
We will get engaged sometime soon. I honestly, to this point, I fully anticipate probably getting eloped at some point just for tax purposes, and then playing off of that. But we'll do a reception later. The one thing that's really interesting, especially for the DJs that are listening, obviously millennials, you're serving the millennials right now, but I think millennials and Gen Z, they're seeing less and less value in the idea of a wedding. Why am I paying $30,000 to have all my friends shit faced when I can go and spend that money either on a house down payment or a really dope ass honeymoon? And it's like, what's the point? Like I can go and spend a fraction of that, bring my really true close friends to bottle service and still have a pop off time and not give a shit. So, I mean, there's a little bit of that, but at the same time, I mean, we'll definitely get eloped and then have a reception at some point later on, probably in Chicago, just because I have so many favors to go and tap over there. Because also DJs suck in Austin, and I'm not going to pay my favorite DJs from Chicago to come down. But something will happen at some point.
So what's the tax benefit to getting eloped? Is it just tax tax?
I don't know. Talk to Preston Anderson. He's my favorite CPA, and he's been treating me well for the past few years. But he says, "Hey, get eloped because you're going to go and save a ton of money on taxes." I'm like, okay.
That's the way I'm. When it comes to financials and taxes, dude, I'm 100%. Like, I text my CPA, and he's my guy, and like we're so close that when PPP came through, he's like, "Pay yourself, motherfucker."
Well, actually, it's funny because so again, he's actually technically a tax planner. He's not a CPA.
Okay.
And what's cool about hiring a tax planner is that a tax planner does not get paid unless they save you money. So if they save you $30,000, he charges you a fraction of that. And so that's what he does for me. And he said, one, get married at some point because we're going to save you a ton of money. I don't know what he's doing. He's just going to do it because he's like magical like that. But what was interesting is with the PPP, he told me to not take it. He had me sign up for the EIDL. I took the EIDL loan, but don't do the PPP because the PPP in the underwriting of it, there's something along the lines of that the government owns a percentage of equity in your company if you take that or something like that.
Interesting.
And I was like, nah, I ain't doing that.
So I was advised not to take it the first time around. And then to go through EIDL and unemployment, like which is, dude, in Pennsylvania, it's want to hear the most fucked up thing. Like I pay myself through payroll, I take out taxes, I pay myself unemployment taxes, but you cannot get direct unemployment as a business owner.
Yeah.
So I had to go through the independent, whatever, the PUA. Whatever.
Ironically, a lot of states are actually like that. It's not just Pennsylvania. Because Illinois is the same way. My parents went through a hard time with that. It doesn't make sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the same fucked up reason like when you go and get a mortgage or you're trying to buy a car and they ask you like, oh, what's your job? Who do you work for? I work for myself. I'm my own business owner. They're like, ooh, sorry about that. Like, so, why?
This is the crazy thing. So you were talking about like the renting and buying and everything like that. I own, actually. I actually had this house before I was dating Kristen, and we had our child. But we were looking at new houses and totally attainable, totally within our budgets, like a $700,000 range, but debt to income and owning a business in the middle of a pandemic like we didn't even try. I was like, I don't even want the credit dings. I don't want to go through the headache. I just know like it's not going to work out at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, the whole PPP EIDL, it got crazy. And I mean, fortunately it wasn't a necessity for me. I mean, unfortunately, like I know, like for my example, my parents, my mom has a lawn and garden business where she sells lawn and garden decor and home decor, and 95 to 99% of her business comes from doing in-person craft and garden shows. Completely wiped out. For 2020, there was a massive 6-figure loss on her part. It's like her entire life got flipped upside down. She had to go and use originally, she admitted to me in the middle of the pandemic, she's like, so we were going to go and give you some money for your wedding, but we kind of need it to live right now. I'm like, don't worry about it. Just do it. Just take it. So, I mean, I understand there's a ton of people who they went through some really, really hard times through the pandemic. And I figured at the end of the day, if I don't take the PPP, that means some other business that actually needs it can take it in some other way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's a weird thing for sure. Like in the pandemic, like we are grown to especially hire people like and then CPAs that can like project things for the future. If it case A, case B, but nobody ever anticipates a 1 year shutdown of case A or case B. So that I think that's part of like, and like I don't want to be an advocate for DJs that are super negative because there's way too many of them, and even in a good situation, there's way too many of them that are super negative. But I can understand it this year for sure, and I could also understand people thinking out loud and speaking out loud and doing word vomit.
Here's the one thing that bugs me, and this is kind of going back because we kind of skipped it. We were talking about going into success a little bit more, and this is a really great segue because DJs were incredibly negative across the board during the pandemic. And at the end of the day, the way that I look at negativity is there's zero benefit to being negative. Zero. None. There's no point in being negative about your business or your personal life to any capacity. But the benefit of being positive is that there's zero harm.
Yes.
If you're negative, you're completely ruining your mindset. You're completely ruining yourself as a business person because then you're drinking more, you're eating worse, you're gaining weight, you're becoming unhealthy. You probably feel a lot of emotional and mental drain. Negativity is toxic. Like, I hate negativity, despise it, in fact. I mean, that's one of the main reasons I left Illinois is because of all the negativity that was around me through friend groups, business, environment, etc. And so through the pandemic, a lot of people who are negative, I understand why they feel that way, but I feel as though that everyone needed to push through that. And that's why because I still am doing the coaching and mentoring in the DJ space, in the wedding space. I was like, hey, we need to go and push through this. We need to go and think about, okay, when this ends, we need to be able to do this. We need to get prepared for this. And that was so important because now I would say not most, but I would say a good amount of states, things are opening back up. Texas is opening back up, which it's not for the record, because I heard on a previous episode, you guys were talking about how like Texas completely dropped their mask mandate. One thing I did want to clarify, Governor Abbott, I don't want to defend everything he's ever done, but the mask mandate dropping, I would go and say that he did not in a reckless manner. He's not like, what was the Simpsons meme where it's like, okay, kill everybody. Or no, not Simpsons. It was Shrek. Everyone's like, hey, Governor Abbott, he's like the what's the king or prince in Shrek, the short little dude. And he's like, kill everybody.
Yeah.
Either way, Abbott did not go and take away the mask mandate to kill everyone. He did it because he does not fundamentally believe that the state or the government should tell someone to wear a mask. What I will go and tell you, in my personal experience from what I've seen in my environment around me, is that despite the mask mandate dropping, everybody still wears a mask. Shockingly. Now, granted, is that because I live in a liberal utopia which is Austin? Maybe. But what I will go and say is that it's really interesting to me that the entire mask mandate completely dropped and nothing changed in terms of people wearing it or not. There's people who kind of now felt the pride in wearing it or not wearing it. And those who are not wearing it are feeling the pressure to wear one, which is really, really interesting. So in a way, it's like, hey, the conservative mindset might be working, which is interesting to me. But I digress.
No, for sure. And I see both sides of it. I think like where there's like there's always truth in something. If something's being said, there's truth to it. And so in Pennsylvania, we're going to be open, pretty much wide open, in April 4th. They've set together the new set of mitigations, and it's looking great for us. The mask mandates are still in place. I think it's just, as a business owner, I think it's a bad look not to wear them. So we're going to wear them, and they're going to be branded, and they're going to be cool or whatever. But we had a discussion. I think maybe you were talking about David Osborne and I, who's from Atlanta, Georgia. We were talking about the whole mask thing. And it's pretty shitty, dude. At weddings, like, I'm wearing a mask the entire time. I'm DJing, wearing a mask the entire time. For some reason, mentally, there's this roadblock, and this is negativity on my part, but there's this mental roadblock where I'm wearing a mask. I don't feel 100% connected with the crowd in the way that I normally would have. And also at the same time, because of the political divide and just the way it looks in photos. So when I get the photos back from a wedding, I don't want to post a photo of myself wearing a mask in a DJ booth. So I think that was the discussion you were talking about. And that's like kind of the shitty part, you know, especially as we move towards getting vaccinated more.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is with the mask mandate being lifted in Texas, I mean, again, you have this situation where you have people who previously were like super hardcore anti-mask. And of course you have certain areas and certain businesses that are like super anti-mask. But what happened is when this whole announcement dropped, I'm in a couple of like hardcore foodie groups in the area of like restaurant owners and people who really like, they enjoy food. I'm a big foodie person.
Yeah.
If you look at my old Instagram photos, like I post food and nothing but. And so when that happened, you had a bunch of people who were business owners who were just straight up saying like, hey, I'm doomed if I do, I'm doomed if I don't. If I wear a mask and enforce masks, I alienate half of my audience. If I don't enforce masks, I alienate the other half of my audience. I don't win either way. Now, fortunately, now that it's all kind of panned out, and we've now been without masks since, well, for just over a week now at time of recording.
Yeah.
And everything's been okay. Like everyone who's been online saying like, I will not support businesses that don't wear masks, or I only support businesses that don't wear masks or do, vice versa, either way. None of that shit's really happened. We have not seen protests. We have not seen major drops in business or gains in business. I mean, everything's kind of just evened out. It's been fine. Like, obviously it's a big mental and sort of political exercise, but at the same time, it's very interesting to see this all pan out in real life and how okay it's going.
So I'm just going to say this about the mask. I am a liberal, libertarian, more likely. I'm socially liberal and financially conservative. But when you do this with your t-shirt and it's just as fucking effective as a mask, there's something to be said for that. Now,
yeah.
N95 masks that have been proven to be successful and are preventative against this, cool. But nobody really has them except for professionals. Yeah.
I mean, what's really kind of interesting is, in general, for the record, I think I identify as a libertarian, because I'm not fully socially liberal. There's certain things that I'm not against, but I don't know if I fully am on board with yet. But sure, those are really small edge cases. But otherwise, I'm definitely fiscally conservative. I think most business owners are kind of that way, to be honest.
Of course. Yeah, you're free to be that way.
But, I mean, masks are really interesting because I just don't believe that a disease can go and be blocked from a piece of cloth, especially one that is as small as coronavirus is. And what's funny is that my family, because my parents, who were completely unable to go make money through their normal means, they sold masks for the entirety of the pandemic. And they basically made a living off of selling masks.
That's awesome.
And they were good masks. I still wear them. But I personally don't feel any safer wearing any mask, for that matter, compared to, I mean, maybe if it's a 95, sure, but compared to not wearing one at all. I just don't. And one other thing that's really interesting is you brought up vaccinations. I am definitely not anti-vaxxer. I am not against vaccines whatsoever. However, what I would go and say that's interesting is that there is a couple people I know who are they're higher officers in the military who they've been forced to take every single vaccine, including flu vaccine, every single time it comes out, every single year. The COVID vaccine is the first vaccine that the military is not required to go and take. And in addition to that, I guess more concretely applicable to me is that I've had 3 direct blood relatives take the Pfizer vaccine, I believe.
Yeah, that's one I
And
have.
all 3 of them have had extreme reactions to it. So I'm kind of petrified. What was that?
The second one?
I think the first one, actually.
Okay.
So, like, for example, one of my uncles, my godfather, he works for a hospital. So, of course, he's required to. And he took it, and he was bedridden for like a week, like completely down and out. And
so
I was
my
like,
father got the
fuck.
second one, and he had he was pretty bad for 2 days. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrifying. I'm not anti-vaxxer, but I am terrified by that. And then in addition to that, it was just yesterday that the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is obviously not currently being used in the United States, was taken away as an option in the European Union.
All of the UA, yeah, or EU.
Yeah, because they said that one is now causing blood clots and potentially death. And I'm like, ugh. Because the one thing that is factual is that any of the vaccines in the United States, as of recording, they're not FDA approved. They're FDA allowed for emergency use. So they're not fully approved yet. And again, I'm not trying to be an anti-vaxxer. I think everyone should get vaccinated when is appropriate. But I guess I'm of the party where I just want to hold back until, first off, I'm not even qualified. I'm not allowed to get a vaccine right now because I'm
you're
young and healthy.
You're healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need one right now. There's people that definitely need it that should be in front of me no matter what. But because of blood, because of these factors, I feel as though I'm rightfully concerned.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think you don't need to be defensive about it by any means. Like this was
I feel as though like someone's going to take this particular sound snippet out of context and just go and use it against me on Twitter sometime.
For whatever reason they want to cancel you. I think that's a shitty situation. Like I think people take things way too personally. Where in the past, like in 30 years ago, if somebody heard something they didn't like, they're like, okay, well this Mike guy isn't for me. That's cool, whatever. But now they feel the need to fuck you over forever because of it, instead of just saying, hey, Mike's not for me, Alex isn't for me. But at the same time, like this vaccine was rushed out pretty quickly. That's, again, where there's smoke, there's fire. And all three of them, whether it's Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, it's 4. And I think those are the only 4 that are out there. But like, yeah, they've been rushed out there. There's been some clinical research, but not much. And I took my shot, man. I was like, I just want to be vaccinated. I just want to.
And for the record, good for you. I'm not judging you for getting it by no means.
Yeah, no, and I don't think you were either. I just think for my to be honest with you, like, and everybody listening, I'm sorry if you're offended by this. I got my shot because it's a sales. They get my higher end clientele kind of want vaccines. They want everybody vaccinated. It's a marketing and sales position, man.
100%. And I get it. I totally get it. I mean, again, I feel a bit ashamed that we're now in a day and time where we have to be apologetic about the way that we feel, or we have to constantly explain it the way that we feel.
And like, so one of the things my therapist said to me when I went to therapy was I would always say like something, but and then she was like, now Alex, just recognize you could say but anything you say before the but is bullshit. So you apologize for what you're going to say, and then you say but, and then you say your real feelings. Yeah,
I get that. But it's funny though, because now I feel like I'm in a day and age where I feel like I say what I want to say.
Yeah.
But then when I say but, then I'm going apologizing for what I said previously.
Right.
Granted, I mean, that's extremely specific use case, but I mean, definitely it's interesting to me that now, based on, from what I've seen in my world, in the marketing world specifically, the business professionals on Facebook, which is Facebook a dying social media platform? That's a whole nother hour and a whole nother bottle of bourbon between the two of us.
Aging social media platform, a very valuable but aging social media.
Yes. But what's interesting is I've noticed now there's a lot of business professionals who are openly stating and explaining their positions on certain things, and they're doing so to go and weed out the people that they do and do not want to work with. Yeah. So if you go and say, hey, I'm hardcore Trump or I'm hardcore Biden, they're trying to go and draw a line in the sand, cut the fat, and go straight for the people that want to spend money with them and now spend more money with them because of it.
My line of thought is still like, hey guys, can't we all just get along? I just want all of your money.
Exactly.
So that's the and that's even if you look at my social media post about getting vaccinated, I was like, look, I got my microchip today.
It was hilarious. I loved it. Also, by the way, I'm so sorry. I just followed you on Instagram today. I didn't realize that I wasn't following you.
Oh, really? Okay.
I followed you back literally about an hour before we started recording.
Well, if I'm not following you, I'm going to follow you back too because I love you, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I think we've said a lot. Have we beat Digital Dave's time?
I hope so.
Nice.
I think so.
Do you feel like we've beat Digital Dave's value?
I hope so. Again, I mean, I would say so. I mean, I can't beat the Zeus story by no means, but I feel like in terms of value, we've covered. I mean, I'll be honest. This is easily the most open and honest interview that I've ever done in the past 5 years.
Dude, I love it. I love it. That's my only goal, man. I just want people to be real. I just want to have a good chat with people. I want to show your successes. I want to show your failures. I want to show your struggles. And I also want to get kind of tipsy, which I am absolutely probably. I think this is the tipsiest I've been on a podcast. If you want to be proud about something,
fuck yeah!
Send my hellos to Amanda. Send my hellos to Nick. Give him a high five for me. And
we'll do.
I'm doing what you're doing, man. I really appreciate you. And anybody who's listening, like, I'm not fucking around. I think I've sang Mike's praises enough for people that have checked him out. And like, Mike has sent people my way in terms of like, yo, it's what I do legit. Mike has sent people my way. Tipsy Mike. What are my words here? Mike has sent people to me to validate what he has done for me. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Mike is legit. Mike is awesome. Check him out. Ilix Marketing. Mike, want to spell that out for me?
ELIX.marketing. There's no .com at the end.
Yeah. No .com?
No .com.
Just
I'm one of those bougie people. I got ELIX.marketing. There's no .com.
So for Mint DJ events, I actually got mint.events at first.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so dope. It's so cool. It confused way too many people.
It confuses so many people. But honestly, now it's to the point where I've done it so many times, it's starting to stick. I'm glad I got it. Quick side story before we wrap up. What's funny is Elix, the name came from the fact that when I was in college, as I came up with this idea to start my own firm as my capstone project for my college program, I was talking to a friend of mine who his day job was at GoDaddy. He was an engineer for GoDaddy for the longest time. And he had access to a list of the last 3, 4, 5, and 6 character domains left in the world, which is a very small list at the time. And this is like 5, 6 years ago. And I was just skimming through these lists, and ELIIX stuck out to me as a really interesting name. And so I bought that domain. Now, what's funny is a year after I bought that domain and I established my company, Absolute came out with Absolute Elix Vodka, ELYX.
If you've listened to this podcast, it's actually one of my favorite vodkas.
It's also DJ Core's, apparently, because that's how you made the
well, no, I made the
Moscow Mule.
DJ Core, like, I will say straight up, I could have sent him the cheapest vodka in the world and he would have loved it. So that was my choice, 100%.
But yeah, I was really kind of butthurt when I saw that at the liquor store. It was ELYX. I'm like, shit.
Yeah, so it's ELYX. You're ELLIX.
ELIIX, double I.
Okay.
Which makes it way more confusing, especially for the boomers who go and purchase from me. They're always like, Elixir Marketing. I'm like, sorry, no.
So that just came to you because of the available choices?
There is literally no meaning to the name Elix whatsoever. Okay. It's literally just one of the last small character domains left in the world.
Well, it's a great name. Mike runs a great company. If you need some guidance when it comes to sales, if you need some guidance when it comes to automation, if you need some guidance when it comes to social media ads, if you want to merge all 3 of those things together, please hit Mike up. He's amazing at what he does. I cannot speak highly enough of him. Mike, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me. I will enjoy my cocktail tomorrow.
I hope you get it tomorrow. If not, I can enjoy it a couple days. But yeah, send my hellos to Amanda. Give Nick a big high five for me, and I appreciate you, man.
Thanks so much, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.